guys, question 4 in our list of 5. It's a standard form question, so we better start by thinking about what is standard form. And I'm not going to say it's a number between 1 and 10 because I'll have your math teachers screaming at the screen. So it's a number that can be greater than or equal to 1, but it has to be less than 10. It can't actually be 10. All right, so we have this is the first part of standard form, a number that is equal to 1 or greater, but also less than 10, times 10 to a power. So I'll just leave that up there for us to reference as we go through the question, okay? So we are asked to write this number here in standard form, in the standard way, which we have spoken about up here. So I need to turn it into a number that is greater or equal to 1, but less than 10. So at the moment, it's much smaller than 1, isn't it? It's tiny. This number is really, really small. So let's try and change it into a number that would be between 1 and 10. I knew I wouldn't say that. Greater than 1, but less than 10. So where are we going to put our decimal point? Well, you can see if we put the decimal point here, then we will get a number that is 3.85. And that fits our rule. That fits the standard way that we write numbers in standard form. Let's have a look at what's happened to the decimal place. We've had to move it 1, 2, 3 spaces. Okay, and that tells me something about the power that we're going to use. So I can write in times 10 to the power of, well, we move the decimal point 3 places. Okay, so I could be tempted to leave it like that. But let's think about what this means. If I left it with a power of 3 there, because I thought, well, I've moved it 3 places, what is this actually saying to me? I've got 3.85 times 10 cubed, which means times 10 3 times, times 10 times 10 times 10. If I was to times this number by 10 3 times, is it going to get bigger or smaller? It's going to get bigger, much bigger. So actually, I want this to turn back into the original number up here. So I need to put a minus in the power to say that I'm actually dividing by 10 3 times, not timesing by 10 3 times. Okay? So the minus sign is telling us that we're going to make this number smaller. We're going to divide it by 10 3 times, which would then give us back the original number. All right, so part B. We're going to write, this is a number already in standard form. You can see it's a number that is greater than 1 or but also less than 10, times 10 to a power. It's in standard form. Write it as an ordinary number. So basically, let's work out what this would be if we undid all the timesing by 10 here. So I'm going to write down my number, 7.291. And I'm not going to write the standard form bit. I'm actually going to work this out. So I'm timesing it by 10 5 times. That's what that means. Times this number by 10 5 times. And an easy way, a quick way if you like, to times by 10 is just to move this decimal point. So timesing it by 10 once, we'll leave it there. Times it by 10 twice. Times it by 10 3 times. 4 times. 5 times. The decimal point would finish there. So what goes in the gaps? So we can fill those in with just zeros as placeholders. And then you just write down this number. 729,100. Okay, that's the answer. That's what that would be if we worked it out and wrote it as an ordinary number. The last one is the most challenging one of part of this question really. It's asking you to work out, you've got one number in standard form divided by another number in standard form. Alright, so it says give your answer in standard form after you've worked this out without a calculator. So we can do this in stages. I can sort the numbers out first. I've got 2.4 divided by 6. So I'm just looking at the number parts first. 2.4 divided by 6. Well, you might be thinking, well, you can't really do that, can you? If we use the bus stop method, this looks difficult, but the bus stop method can get us out of this problem very nicely. Okay, so we're doing 2.4 divided by 6. Line up your decimal points and let's do the bus stop method. 6 into 2 doesn't go. 2 is too small. If it doesn't go in, cross it out and pass it over to the next number. 6 is into 24. That does go 4 times exactly. Alright, so there's our answer. 2.4 divided by 6 is 0.4. Bus stop method, very effective when you're working with decimals like that. So that's the first part. It's 0.4. Now we've got to work out this 10 to the power business. We've got 10 to the power of 10 divided by 10 to the minus 2. So if I do that over here as well, you've got 10 to the power of 10 divided by 10 to the minus 2. And if you know your laws of indices, or the rules for when you're working with powers, when you're dividing, what do you do with your powers? You need to remember to subtract them. And I would always write the sign in, subtract, because you've got 10 minus minus 2. So what is that going to give me? It'll be 10 to the power of, what is 10 minus minus 2? That's going to give me 12, because a minus and a minus next to each other is a plus. So we can put this in. We've sorted out the powers now, and there we go. We could leave it like that, couldn't we? No, we can't leave it like that. Is that in standard form? Is that a number that is greater than 1 or equal to 1, but less than 10? No, it's less than 1. This is not standard form. It's doing its best to look like standard form, isn't it? It looks pretty close, but the problem is this is not big enough. This is not. We need to make this bigger than 1. How am I going to turn 0.4 into a number greater than 1? Well, I'm going to have to times this by 10. All right, I'm going to have to use one of my 10s here. I'm going to have to use up one of my 12 10s to multiply this number to make it bigger. So I'm going to use one of my 10s to turn it into, well, what would 0.4 times 10 be? It's just going to give me 4, isn't it? So it will be 4 times 10. Well, I've used up one of my 10s, so now I'm down to 11 10s left in the tank over there, okay? So that is now in standard form. Hope that was helpful.